Welcome to the Alan and Dan Review Stuff Show. I am your host, Dan Burke. Tonight, I am joined in the studio by my co-host, the talented Prince of Periodicals, Alan Freeman. How are you today, Alan?
I got my tongue stuck on a cold ski lift, and...
Wait! Look who just walked in! Our guest, Lloyd Christmas, from Dumb and Dumber movie fame.
Hello, Dad. Hello, Fallon. I'm Alan.
Lloyd, what have you been up to?
Well, my friend Harry Dunn and I started a worm farm after all. We only need some tiny tractors and barns, and we can get it going.
Lloyd, have you had any new adventures?
Well, I'm writing another movie sequel. I call it Dan and Dumber. I'd like you to star in it with me. What do you say, pal?
Well, I'm honored, but I am not much of an actor, Lloyd.
It's true. He's terrible. Can't act at all. But me? I'm good. I'd like to be in it. I've done comedy films. Fallon, hold your horses. No, Dan, hear me out. Here's the script. You and I, a busload of hot Hawaiian tropic models, travel together. We apply the oil to the girls. That's what we do.
I really don't like my hands to get greasy. I've had some bowling accidents, lawsuits, lost rings.
Oil? I'm pretty good at applying oil. I can apply oil to anything. I have steady hands. Dan, here's the plot. The bus at Gorgeous Babes stops in Florida. Their regular oil guys are killed at SeaWorld, and we take their place.
That really is dumb. But I have some brain surgery next week, and I need to rest. I can't do it, Lloyd. Super busy.
My schedule's wide open. I mean, I'm willing to quit this job right now and leave with you. You don't even have to pay me. Dan, there's a big scene where we get trapped in the girls' shower. It's hilarious. Just imagine soap and boobs and big white teeth all around you. I can see it clearly. I can.
Lloyd, you old rascal. Stop coming in here with your movie scripts. I have nearly 12 subscribers here at the Alan and Dan Review Stuff show. I can't leave that. I'm sorry.
Well, are you sure? He said no. I think it's final. But I'm much funnier than Dan, and I have no problem working with girls and all. In fact, I often... Please, Dan!
Okay, you still got it, Lloyd. Okay, I'll do the movie.
I have a baby blue tuxedo, top hat, cane, and check out my headshots.
Where will this be filmed?
In Yemen. Beaches, yangaroos, but a shrimp on the Barbie, mate. Wait, I don't think that's not how they talk in... Dano, I have to go. My limo is double parked. Goodbye, Dan. Goodbye, Fallon. Alan. My guys will call your guys, and they, as they say, have a good one. Later.
Wow, weeks and weeks on a movie set with beautiful girls. What do you think, Alan? Can I be dumb enough?
At last, a movie role you don't have to practice for.
Tonight, our first main topic is the 1994 film Dumb and Dumber. To say that this was a cult sensation is an understatement. This thing spawned movies, animated TV series, all kinds of things. People absolutely adore this film. What do you think about Dumb and Dumber, Alan?
It's one of my favorite movies, Dan. That's why I recommended it.
I had never seen Dumb and Dumber, and so I watched it just a few days ago for the first time, if you can possibly believe it. So I'm coming in on a very fresh take, and Alan is coming in on a 25-year take.
Yes.
So it's going to be interesting. This was a Christmas movie, believe it or not, folks, released on December 16th in 1994. You want to frame the plot of this one for people, Alan?
Okay, it's 1994. buddy comedy film directed by Peter Farrelly, who co-wrote the screenplay with Bobby Farrelly and Bennett Yellen. It's starring Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. Tells the story of Lloyd Christmas, who's Jim Carrey's character, and Harry Dunn, who's Jeff Daniels' character. Two dumb but well-meaning friends from Providence, Rhode Island. They go on this cross-country trip to Aspen to return a briefcase. It's a pretty crazy plot, and it gets involved. But mostly it's just their trip to Aspen, and then when there's a ransom involved and a lot of money in the briefcase. It's just hilarious, I think.
Yes, I think this was a great recommendation. I laughed out loud several times at this thing. Very funny. The basic plot is a woman leaves. She takes a limo ride to the airport. She leaves a briefcase in the airport. Jim Carrey spots that briefcase, not knowing it's ransom for her kidnapped husband, grabs up the suitcase, and like Alan said, intends to return it to her all the way across the country. They soon discover that there's, $1 million in there, him and Harry.
Yeah.
And they decide that they're going to spend a little bit of the money. And there's some great scenes where they're over-the-top dressed in crazy costumes, and they buy a Lamborghini, and basically they're working their way through the cash pretty fast.
But they left IOUs in the suitcase. They're good for it.
Yes, they left IOUs in the suitcase. From the very moment this thing started, I was captivated. It opens up with a limousine pulling up next to a bus stop, and Jim Carrey's in the back seat, and he rolls down the window just a little bit and starts hitting on this girl who's at the bus stop. And we soon discover that he is the limo driver.
Uh-huh.
He just jumped in the back seat pretending to be the guy who's being driven around. And man, that just captured me and made me laugh so hard from the very beginning.
He's always getting his countries wrong. Everything wrong.
Yes, he's getting everything wrong. There's a lot of what I call bathroom humor, literally, in this movie.
Right.
I was never a big fan of it, but because it's painful and excruciating to watch. But it is pretty funny in this movie. Some of it, I'm not going to go into details, but there is that aspect to it, and that is probably why I never saw the movie.
Really?
Certain movies, contain aspects for me. Now, I didn't dislike it. It's just that when I know that that's in the movie, I think to myself, this is not the movie for me.
Right.
So, a little, I guess it's juvenile humor, bathroom humor.
Oh, yeah.
But that's okay.
Well, I really like the fact that the two, hitmen, it was a hitman and a hit woman, are trailing them, and everything that the two dumb guys do, they think is brilliant. They think they're on to them instead. Well, they left a note for the gas man, and he's like, how did he know I have gas? And it's hilarious. And then it
is funny.
and he's going to kill him with the poison, but he's choking on the where they played a trick on his hamburger and put in the jalapenos or whatever, the peppers, and so he's choking, and they pull out his pills, but they get his poison instead, and he's dying on the floor. Oh my God.
Yeah, that scene where they kill the hitman, I didn't see that coming.
No.
They're on some crazy road trip with the hitman. They go into a restaurant and they start sampling these crazy hot peppers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really hot. And so Lloyd and Harry each try them, and they're like, eyes watering, going crazy, all the histrionics. And they decide to slip like 5 of these things into this poor guy's hamburger.
And he's already got ulcers, stomach ulcers anyway, so.
Oh. Right. So the moment this hits him, he keels over, and they feed him rat poison, which was what he was about to feed them.
Yeah. He sees the bottle in their hand. He's like, no, he just...
Yeah, the pills, he's screaming, yes.
Oh, my God.
I thought the girl was gorgeous who they cast in this thing. I don't know much about her, where she comes from, where she went, where she ended up. Lauren Holly, I guess her name is.
Uh-huh. Oh,
but,
yeah.
Wow. What a beautiful girl.
Jim
Woo.
Jim Carrey thought she was beautiful too, I guess, because he married her for about 2 years.
No kidding.
Yeah.
To frame this in the context of Jim Carrey's career, he was just coming off The Mask and another, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
Uh-huh.
So Jim Carrey was on a huge upward slide at this moment in his career.
I think it's a surprise that they picked Jeff Daniels because he'd done drama. I'm pretty sure he hadn't done any comedy before this.
Yeah, and Jeff Daniels was not a household name by any means. And I don't know if this story is true or not, but I heard that he reads the script and shows it to his agent, and his agent says, if you do this, it's the end of your career.
Yes.
But it proves
right.
that Jeff Daniels is actually a very, very good actor. He can do everything. He can do comedy. He can do serious. He's really,
Right.
really good.
Did you ever see him in Newsroom? It was a series.
No,
TV
was
series.
he good?
Oh wow, he was fantastic. He was like the running the station, and he was just on top of it. I mean, Academy Award acting.
Oh, I got to see it then. I got to see it. Tell me what else you thought about this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I know you've had a lot of thoughts about it.
Oh, there's just so many funny little quotes and sayings and things going on. I love the. I think Jeff Daniels' big scene was when he was kind of going on the date with the girl, and they're just joking around, and then she throws a snowball at him, and then he gets all mad. He's like he's 8 years old or something, you know, and he gets mad, and he starts bombing her with snow, and then he stuffs her head in the ground, and then she just starts laughing, you know. Oh my God.
I like the fact that Jim Carrey is too shy to approach Mary Swanson, the beautiful girl played by Lauren Holly, and so he sends Jeff Daniels over to talk him up, but rather than talk him up, Harry Dunn is so socially and awkward that the girl ends up being charmed by his stupidity and asks him out on dates, and so he starts dating her.
I think it was the mother, Terry Garr's character. She kept interrupting him constantly. Every time he tried to mention Lloyd Christmas, who was posing by the bar awkwardly, every time he mentioned him, she would interrupt him, you know. So then Terry Garr is the one that said, hey, Mary. He said, Mary's here and she wants to go skiing. She doesn't know anyone, you know, to go with. And so she sets them up, you know, on the date. And then he has to go over and then he lied to Lloyd and said, I got your date lined up.
I love that the fact that he keeps lying to Lloyd that he's dating the girl, and then Jim Carrey, Lloyd, finds out that he's dating the girl. He sees them together, and so they're back in the hotel room. And he's like, well, tell me, Harry, what have you been doing all afternoon? He's like, nothing. Like he can tell he's lying. It's so funny, them lying to each other. It is so good.
Yeah, that look on Jim Carrey's face, that look like, oh, I know what you did.
Yes.
Oh, and then he pours that X-Lax stuff into his drink, and he goes, let's have a drink before you go.
Yeah.
And that's why he has the big bathroom scene later.
It's some kind of crazy laxative, has a crazy name, and it's supposed to be like half a tablespoon is all you need. He pours the whole bottle into this guy's drink. It's awful.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then his stomach is starting to rumble. He's like, what was that?
There's a lot of poisonings in this movie. It's very funny.
Oh, that's right. I didn't realize it till now, but I rewatched the movie again recently, and they don't even say much about the kidnapping, do they? I mean, they're talking about it, but do they ever come out and say that it's her husband that's kidnapped?
I agree. It was kind of a nebulous thing, but I was really sure that the gangsters were after the money. I was sure about that. I thought that it was a kind of a weird plot point that Mary Swanson is very jovial and going on dates and going skiing and stuff, while her husband has been kidnapped. She's all on for the good. She's all on for the good time. So nothing stops Mary Swanson.
I think what was going on is they didn't really want to tell you, because it's like a reveal when Lloyd finds out she was married. That's like a big reveal. They're kind of hiding it.
Another great thing about the movie is when these guys finally decide to start spending the money, they're stuffing IOUs into the suitcase as they spend the $1 million, is the costumes they wear at the ski lodge are just crazy. It's the craziest ski costumes you could ever imagine a human might wear.
Right. I love it.
They made me laugh like crazy because, yeah, there were neon colors, plus they were so
Garish.
80s, 90s. Does that, you know what I mean? They had that look, you know?
Definitely.
It was so good.
One thing I found hilarious is when he's waiting for the Mary in the bar, but she's not going to show up because she's out on the date. And so he's waiting there all day. And that other lady shows up, the black lady. And so she's kind of hitting on him, but she's boring. And she's talking about her ex and all this stuff. Well, he goes to leave the bar, and he looks over, and there's a framed cover of the newspaper, and it says, "The man landed on the moon." And he gets all excited. He's like, "Oh my God, man landed on the moon! Everybody!" You know, like he's just found out.
Like it just happened.
Well, you know, that was totally improvised.
Really?
Yeah, he made that up on the spot.
That's funny.
And the other actors said it was real hard for them not to laugh and destroy it, you know.
I was really hoping when Terry Garr sidled up into that scene that she was going to try to seduce Lloyd and there would be more to be done with her character because she was so sexually aggressive.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yeah, right.
I felt there was definitely a setup coming for that because she was so into Harry. Yeah, she's a great actress, and she's only in that thing for a couple of seconds, but she's so good. But I really felt like there was a huge wasted opportunity. There's a movie, I can't remember the name of it, where the mother tries to seduce the lead boyfriend in the film. I can't remember. It's a comedy. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, vaguely. And you're right. I think she's only in 2 scenes. She's in one where they're at the ski lodge, and it's just the family are in the scene. Mary, and the guy Charles Rocket. He plays sort of a bad guy. You know, he's the one that sent the 2 assassins to take them out. You know, she's only in that scene, and then she's only in the one you were talking about at the Owls with the fundraiser for the White Owls.
Not to be missed, and we already talked about him, was Joe Montalino, who plays the hitman who is poisoned by the peppers in the hamburger and dies. He is a wonderful, wonderful actor. He brings a lot to this movie because one of the great roots of comedy is a person being annoyed. That is like, it never gets old for people because they laugh because people are so annoyed so easily and so quickly in our society that they can really have a lot of empathy towards the annoyed character. So he's in the car with these 2 jackasses while they start making noises and carrying on and hitting each other and basically acting like 5-year-olds. And he is so annoyed.
Oh, yeah.
Just sitting there, you know? Anyway, genius. And I want to connect him to one of my other favorite movies, and that's the Ed Wood movie. I love him as the film producer who's producing the crappy movies, and he says to Ed Wood, "Well, we've got the poster, and the movie releases in 8 weeks. We need you to film a movie."
He's in that.
So he makes the movie Glenn and Glenda. It's so funny.
The actor Charles Rocket, who was the villain character, he has a mysterious life story. When he was in his 50s, I think early 50s, he was found dead in his out in his lawn, out in his yard, and it turned out it was he'd killed himself, cut his throat. They thought it was a murder, but there was no one else around, and there was no other evidence.
Lauren Holly, who plays Mary Swanson, continued to be beautiful for the rest of her life. and continued to work. She is in so many things. From it seems seemingly from 1986 on, she just works. It's funny that she doesn't jump out to me, in something, but looking over her IMDb thing here, you can't believe all the TV shows and different things that she has appeared in. She was in All My Children from 87 to 2007, plus doing all the films and movies.
So they made another Dumb and Dumber, but it was with the kids, and they're like, I think they were like, 18 years old or something. I saw it. It wasn't that bad, but it got panned horribly. But then it took another 10 years or so. I think it was 2014 they made the official sequel with the same actors, with Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels again.
You know what I liked about the opening of this movie? Is they spelled director and producer wrong and all that stuff. And, I haven't seen a movie do that really except for like Deadpool, where they go all in on, making the credits crazy and not real, I guess, This movie produced by the same guys who did the other one,
Right.
Stuff like that. I love that stuff. So I thought that was really fun. And from the very beginning, I was looking at it going, am my eyes tricking me? Am I reading that right? So that was good. They made it funny from the very start.
Oh, I liked, I just remembered where he wanted to return the suitcase to Mary, but he couldn't remember her last name. And so they were standing by the phone booth, and he's going, it's something like Story or Shriver, and then he said the correct name.
Swanson.
And then he goes, wait a minute, it's on the suitcase. It's Samsonite.
Yeah, that's great. This film could have been something of a disaster if they had cast, perhaps, two people who were exactly like Jim Carrey. It's weird, but Jeff Daniels brings almost like a childlike vulnerability to his character, and you're rooting for him nonetheless of all the mistakes and misdeeds they make, because you never feel that he's a bad guy. And Jim Carrey isn't either. He's trying to return someone's property, even though they steal all the money. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting thing. Like, that shows you how a good actor can balance it out. You know what I mean?
Well, right when you think Jeff Daniels' character is smarter, because they're talking about the worms and everything, and he keeps questioning Lloyd Christmas, in their apartment, and he seems a little smarter, right? But then at the end of the movie, it turns out Jim Carrey can't read, and Jeff Daniels can barely read.
Yeah.
So it goes back and forth.
It is funny. Yeah, how about his car that he has converted to look like a dog?
I want to tell you, when they did this
great.
sequel in 2014, at Comic-Con, everyone's trying to advertise their TV shows and movies and whatnot, and they put stuff up on buildings. Big sky rises have ads on them, Well, that exact car with the dog that looks like a dog was driving back and forth through all the traffic all day long one day.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, to advertise the sequel.
That's awesome. It's like the Wienermobile.
Right. I just wish they'd made a sequel a lot sooner, It's a shame they waited, 15 years or more? It was more than that, maybe 20 years. It's just a shame because everybody loved it so much. You think they would have jumped in there, 5 or 6 years later even. Don't you think?
I think so too. I am surprised. Well, the Farley brothers are not sequel kind of guys. That's number one. And number two, Jim Carrey was the biggest star on the planet for a while after this. Liar, Liar, a whole bunch of other movies. So probably wrangling him in wasn't going to be cheap. But it was a stupid move because in a movie that makes 300 times its money back, you should be willing to write a check for $5 million to Jim Carrey and say, please come back. It's pretty easy, man, Yeah, I think the world was clamoring for the sequel and they didn't make it. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you think this lines up in Jim Carrey's movies? One of his best, because he's done so many as far as comedies go. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, things like that. Where do you think this falls into those?
I think the people probably like the Ace Ventura better because he's way out there. I mean, he's a complete character. I mean, here he is, but you can't quite put your finger on his accent or the way he's talking, whatever. But in Ace Ventura, he has a distinctive sound, that voice pattern, and that's probably why they made two of those, right? They made a couple of Ace Ventura movies, right, back to back, sort of.
Yes.
I just think it was so over the top, and it worked. So they are like, let's stay with this, But I know we don't agree, but I like the Cable Guy a lot, and I've seen that movie a lot. And I that's one of my favorites of Jim Carrey that I can think of offhand.
1994 was a huge year for Jim Carrey. Not only did Dumb and Dumber come out, but so did The Mask came out.
Wow.
And wow, what a big year for somebody to have two huge money-making movies. You know what I mean?
Right.
And what I really love about The Mask is Cameron Diaz is so fresh in that movie. It's the young, beautiful Cameron Diaz poured into dresses that are basically painted on in that thing. Whew, man, she is a smoke show. The Mask was a massive hit. It was made for a budget of around $18 million, and it made $351 million. Again, returning a giant profit. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Dan, you've really missed something. Oh, no, I haven't missed it. Because in 1994, that was also the year that Ace Ventura was released. So Jim Carrey...
Really?
Yes, Jim Carrey had 3 huge movies released. Ace Ventura was the least successful of the films.
Really?
It was made for a budget,
Wow.
made for a budget of 15, only made 107 million, but it still made back almost 10 times its box office, or 9 times. So Jim Carrey, right then and there in 1994, he was the biggest box office moneymaker they'd ever found. I mean,
wow.
It seemed like everything he touched made hundreds of millions of dollars. So in many respects, 1994 was the biggest year in Jim Carrey's career. Well, that was great going over such a beloved movie. And I'm glad you turned me on to it, Alan, because I wouldn't have watched that movie unless you had said to me, Dan, we're going to review it, and you have to watch it.
You must.
That's right. So, Alan, what are you reading right now? We're going to do our segment we call, What is Alan Reading? So, Alan, what are you reading right now? What's on the board for you?
Well, I just finished the Marcia Clark Without a Doubt, 1996 book that she wrote based on the trial of O.J. Simpson. She was the head DA, head prosecutor, DA, on the trial, and it was fascinating. I know there's, 10 or 12 books offhand about the trial. They all came out in 96, as it turns out. They all go over it. It's like there's books for all the prosecution, and then there's all the Dream Team have a book out, and then you've got OJ with a couple of crazy books out. But what I found fascinating is that right off the bat, in the prologue of the book, she doesn't want you to have to wait to read her whole book to get to the point. She tells you right away that there's he is guilty without any doubt whatsoever, and there's tons of evidence all pointing to him, and she wants you to know that right up front. And then she goes into the book, and the way it's written is fascinating because it's not just the trial, but it's about how she was handling her job, during the trial, and all the different things that she had to deal with at the same time. Like she got her divorce papers like a day before she found out she was doing this case with OJ, and so she's dealing with that, and she's got two little boys to take care of. And it's just amazing what all she had to juggle. Well, to make a long story short, after it was all over, and everyone knows he was acquitted of the murders, of course, the criminal case, he had to pay something like $30 million. I think it was higher than that, and then at some point they made it lower. I think it was 60 million, made it 30, whatever. I don't think he ended up paying very much of that back because he'd spent a lot of money on the trial, the lawyers, all that stuff, and he even owes them money as well, as far as I know. But anyway, she was reported to gotten $4 million to write this book because she wasn't going to rehash all this because it was painful. But I guess they convinced her with $4 million. And that's back in 96.
And she retired from being a prosecutor, it should be noted. She left prosecution work after she got the check and said, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore.
She's written 11 books, counting the Without a Doubt. But the other books are all about different women. A woman, there's two series. There's Samantha Brinkman series with 4 books and a Rachel Knight series with 6 books. And I think one of them, there's a defense attorney. The lady works at a defense attorney. It's all fiction, mystery, murder mystery. And then I think the other series is the other side of the defense.
The O.J. Simpson case has been a thing that has particularly fascinated me in my lifetime. I watched it happen live on TV like everybody else. I read the book Alan is describing. I read other books about it. And for me, my favorite book is the one written by Vincent Bugliosi. Yeah, Outrage, the 5 Reasons Why O.J. Simpson Got Away with Murder. And for those that are interested, there's a 2-part video on YouTube that you can watch and check it out. And rather than read his book, you can see his 5 reasons articulated by Bugliosi on what he thinks went wrong. And he really criticizes Martha Clark. He really criticizes the lawyer, the judge. He criticizes everybody for acting terribly and allowing O.J. Simpson to get away with murder. So for those that are interested in the O.J. thing, I think the Bugliosi book is the place to start. Outrage, the 5 Reasons Why O.J. Simpson Got Away with Murder, written in 1996. What a terrific, terrific book that is.
Yeah, I saw the first 3 or 4 hours. That 2-parter with Bugliosi on YouTube is something like 8 hours altogether. So he goes into a lot of detail on those 5 points, actually. But it's fascinating how, you're right, he trashes the performance of the prosecution and the Dream Team. And he makes fun of the Dream Team, saying, how in the heck did they get that name? Because a lot of them were inexperienced with murder trials, and a lot of them were used to just making deals. So why they were up speaking to the judge, he couldn't figure it out. Just because they had clout, and they had a presence, I think. Actors. They're good actors.
Yes, I agree. The performance artists. But so you really like this book. What would you rate the book?
Well, I gave it a 10. I put my ratings up on Instagram and Goodreads and Facebook. And I gave it a 10 because if I'm fascinated through the whole book, and I just can't wait, I'm turning the pages, then I'm enjoyed it, and I recommend it to everyone. It's just, she puts it in a way that everyone can understand. It's not any language or lawyer speak, that would turn you off. So it's all down to earth, and you keep jumping to her life and what's going on and how people are treating her. In this era, the 1994 time period, women weren't all that respected, and doing being in the office and doing things. It's surprising. You think we've moved a lot further ahead by then, but they were making fun of her hair and the way she dressed, and they didn't do that to the men. The men lawyers never got that, but in the newspaper and the media, they were all just focusing on weird things like that, almost to kind of put her down, as being to have the gumption to be the head prosecutor.
I agree. There was different rules for how she was reported in the press than how men are reported. It's very weird, very sexist. It's a great read. The Darden book I thought was the weakest of the books, but I read that one too. And I read Furman's book too. It's such a self-serving thing, of course. But he really gives you the facts from his point of view, how he's woken up in the middle of the night, drives to the estate and everything. And once you understand the chain of events that are around him, it's ridiculous. He can't plant something that was already there.
Well, yeah. There were like 14 other police saw that there's only one glove, and then he arrives. How's he going to take a glove from the scene that's not there and plant it somewhere else? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the timeline's way off, and that should have been the thing hammered in the courtroom to the jury, that it was impossible, no matter how shoddy or bigoted the police were, they couldn't have done it. Isn't it funny, Alan, that we're talking about Jim Carrey in 1994, and this is in 1994?
Lord, I didn't even think
a lot
of that.
Stuff happened in 1994,
didn't
it? Isn't that crazy?
Oh my God. I'm also reading.
I know.
I'm also reading Grave Secrets. It's by Cyril H. White, Wecht. Wecht. He's one of the criminalists that they had on the OJ, but he was not on trial. He wasn't actually up on the stand, but he was a helper for the defense, actually. And I found that interesting because this book goes into different cases that he's helped solve in his lifetime, for different big cases, major things. And the first chapter is all about O.J. Simpson. And I found so many mistakes because I just read Marcia Clark's book, and I thought, wait a minute, his book came out 16 years after the trial, and he's still telling all this wrong information. He's still trying to make you have doubt that O.J., first of all, he wanted you to believe there's another person that was helping O.J., even though there's never been any one speck of evidence to that fact. Why would he push that? It's ridiculous. And then here's the other thing. They always talked about the blood was tainted, and they took O.J.'s blood from the lab, and it had like a preservative in it. And then that's how they said, well, the FCI, or the police, whatever, put the blood on these different items, the socks in his house and all this stuff. And they tested it and said, well, it has preservatives in it, and so it had to have come from the lab, not straight from the bodies. Well, Marcia Clark, during the trial, had disproved, or proved anyway, that everyone has some of this preservative in their bloodstream, because you eat anything, cereal and stuff, it has all these preservatives in it. And so you are going to have a little bit on the scale. But when they tested blood that was straight from the lab, it was shot way up, right? So there's no confusion. It's you get a little or you have a lot from the lab. And so she totally disproved that whole stupid thing about them taking blood from the lab. Well, now we go 16 years ahead, and this criminalist guy in his book is still saying that's something to consider? I'm like, I was just laughing my ass off.
Yeah, that's how I felt about Bugliosi's JFK book. He's just repeating old lies, old mistruths, old distortions. Go off on a huge tangent, but I wanted to say that 1994 was actually a wild year. Besides O.J. Simpson being arrested, that was the year that the figure skater Nancy Kerrigan gets hit in the knee with the iron pipe.
Gosh. Oh my gosh! Yes.
Remember that story? She gets her coach, boyfriend, whatever he is, to go hit Kerrigan in the knees to take her out of the Olympics. Who would ever believe that's a real story?
Did you see the movie? Margot
Yes, it was
Margot
wonderful.
Robbie and I, Tanya. Oh my gosh, that was so good.
That was another traumatic year because that's the year that Major League Baseball went on strike and they didn't play. That was, for any sports fans, that was a big, what? Like, we didn't know that sports could stop.
Wow.
Folks, I'd like to thank you all for stopping in today to the Alan and Dan Review Stuff show. It's always a good time. It's always a party. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. Please hit that bell button so you know when a new show is coming out. We're marching our goal towards 1,000 subscribers. We only have 885 subscribers to go. And bingo, we're golden. Alan, did you have a good time today?
I had a great time. I'm so glad that Lloyd took the time to visit your studio today.
I am too. What a great fellow. And it's really unfortunate that I won't be able to do that film with him and the girls due to the brain surgery. But that's how things roll here at the Alan and Dan Show.
Well, it's something you need to have done really bad.